Hello everybody and welcome to Coffee and Geography. And this is an absolute very special episode as I am on location at the Forum in Norwich for Norwich Science Festival 2023. So to describe the scene for you all, so I'm currently standing on the upper tier of the Forum, and the Forum is it was originally called the Millennium Forum. The Millennium Library is part of it. As you can imagine, it was built for the Millennium, so for around the 2000s. And it is a great giant glass structure. If you look at the ceiling, it's got a curved, almost like wing sail shaped on the ceiling. It's glass, and from the sun is coming through. And to my right-hand side, as I look towards the front of the Forum, we have the BBC Radio Norfolk and BBC Look East offices. To my right and to the left we have some more offices and buildings. We have a Pizza Express and a Mazzano. The main area, the main floor down below me, the atrium, is just a giant exhibition space. And it's all hustling and bustling here at the moment, and we have lots of stalls set up from various scientific organisation agencies. We have the University of East Anglia, who I'm helping out today. They've got a volcano exhibition, but they've also got other things going on, like psychology and medicine and biotech. And you've got folks from the Quadram Institute and the John Innes Centre Research. There's just so much going on here. So hopefully, as I walk around and I talk to folks, we get a flavour of what these kind of things are. There's tons of people around. There's parents and families with their push buggies, and there's just loads and loads of young people of all ages just getting really into what's going on here. So so let's have a walk around, let's have a chat with folks and see what we can find out about the Norwich Science Festival.
Welcome to Coffee and Geography, where my guests and I geek out about the world and everything on it, discovering that we are all geographers in some way, shape or form. I am your host, Kit, and my pronouns are they, them or she, her. So settle down with a brew, hit that subscribe or follow button, and enjoy the listen.
Right, so I'm here with a colleague of mine from the UEA events team, the University of East Anglia events team. Bronte, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
How's it going?
It's actually been very busy. Today's a little bit quieter than Monday, which was the last time that I worked. I think a lot of people are coming every single day, which is really good, seeing some of the same faces, which is nice.
So let's have a look around at the people that have gone past your desk then. So what kind of people have we got coming in? I mean, any particular age group, all sorts?
There is quite a bit of a range, but I would say mostly it's younger children, probably from the age of about 5 to 12.
Amazing.
They all seem super interested in the lanyards. We're going through packs and packs of them.
Yeah.
They've got a little fun activity collecting little cards at different desks, and it's an opportunity to interact with different tables and see what's going on. So yeah, it's a really good incentive.
Yep, so I've been to the Norwich Science Festival UEA Purple Lanyard, an absolute beautiful thing. I've got too many UEA lanyards, so I'm not going to tea leaf this one. But I think it's a great idea, those little kind of cards that they snip to their lanyards that kind of like have a take-home message.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for all your help and everything like that and getting people to experience Norwich Science Festival. Lovely to speak to you.
Nice speaking to you.
So as an ex-geography teacher, the first stall I'm drawn to is one with a giant map and little things that you can put to it. Because I'm here at the Tropic stall here. So how are you doing this morning?
Very well, thank you. What would you like to know?
So tell us a little bit about who Tropic is and or what you do and what hopefully you're trying to get people to learn today.
So at Tropic, we're based in Norwich, and what we do is gene editing on coffee, banana and rice, trying to find different traits to improve food security and make food production more sustainable. And
I'm guessing here that you've got a very interactive stall here. You've got all these different things with this, so where people can put... and then you've got some sheets here with some genetic charts. So give us an example. Let's take bananas. So give us an idea about how we might genetically modify bananas in order to help with food security.
So with bananas is actually one of our main crops, and there is a fungal pathogen that is pretty much tearing through all of the commercial banana plantations, because, fun fact, all the bananas that we eat in this country and any place where bananas don't grow naturally are all genetically identical. They're a type called Cavendish. And Cavendish bananas are at risk of going extinct because of this fungal pathogen. And what we try to do at Tropic is go in and introduce single base edits to make them resistant to the pathogen so that we don't need to change all of the shipping, the boxes, and the flavour of the commercial banana.
And this is the risk of homogenizing
It is.
any foodstuffs.
Yeah.
Because you get a single disease, variant, fungus, whatever, pest. It
and
could
it
wipe
can
out
devastate the
Absolutely.
pipeline.
Because, I mean, I don't know off the top of your head if you know, do you, like, in the natural world, how many different varieties of banana there truly is? I mean,
A lot.
I'm guessing there's more than just the Cavendish.
Blimey.
And they're not all yellow and curvy, I take it, either.
Some are red, some are blue.
Oh, blue bananas. That sounds awesome. Tastes like ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I need to seek out this blue banana. It's my mission in life now. Well, thank you very much, and I hope the rest of the festival goes well for you.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
Does it? Can you taste it? It tastes nice.
Can you taste anything? Did you say?
Taste of anything? Right, okay, so just interpretation.
I tasted something.
You tasted of that one. So this is really interesting, actually, because you're a non-taster, right? Okay, so it doesn't mean you haven't got any taste. You have got taste. Yeah. Not being rude. But it's a non-taster. But this is a super taster. Okay, so you can taste all of them. That was your control.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting if you've got children. I'm not quite sure they were quite right.
Bit too young. I think maybe the second one, yeah. The middle two in particular, they were just.
That's a sweet one.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Was the last one the sweet one?
The last one was the sweet one. You could
That's the
taste
one that
that.
I can just...
So I'm here at the Big C Cancer Charity stall in the marquee. Mel, I just saw you do something really interesting here with with a family here about taste testing. Can you tell us a little about what was going on there?
Yeah, sure. So we've got this taste tester here. So some people can taste a lot stronger than other people, and you call them a super taster. So it's a genetic test.
Mm-hmm.
So you can inherit one particular gene from your parents and some from your one from one parent, one from the other, and it really determines whether you're a strong taster, which is a dominant taste, a non-taster, where you can still taste but not as strong, or a mild taster. So these ones here, we're looking at these various different chemicals, and we have a control there as well. It all depends which ones you can taste and how strong you can taste them, as to whether we can determine what sort of genetic makeup you are, if you like.
And so what implications does this have for, say, things like cancer and other ailments?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I think when you have cancer and you're going through treatment, or even through COVID as well, where a lot of people lost their taste, you can lose your taste quite significantly and your smell. So what happens, or perhaps what happens if you're more a super taster, perhaps it doesn't affect you quite as much.
Right.
But we do have this book here, which we've produced with Life Kitchen. What we're looking at there is creating actually really quite cheap meals, but with intense flavours in them.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah.
So hopefully patients who are going through chemotherapy, for instance, these will help them to at least taste something.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And it's that luxury of life that people don't take for granted, I guess, as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. And I think COVID has really highlighted that, where people lost their sense of smell and taste and realise how miserable that is, really.
Well, I'll speak for all parents and grandparents and say I probably will be a little bit more appreciative of when kids say, I don't like that, I like that, and from now on.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for talking to me, Mel.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
So the other thing the Big C have got here, there are two members of staff dressed up as the poo emoji. And and there's a giant inflatable bum. So I'm just going to go through this big bum and I'm going to see what is inside. So let's have a look. Oh, it's a bit of a squeeze, isn't it? Oh, crikey. Oh, and inside the big bum we have more poo emojis. Oh, wow. Awesome. So what we've got here, we've got an interactive experience. We've got things about the bowel. So there's a fact here that says the large bowel is 1.5 meters long and consists of the sternum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. and its function is to turn liquid waste into poo and absorb any remaining nutrients and water the body needs. This is such an amazing space. I mean, like, they're inflatable, whatnot, and you can feel them, touch them, see what they look in massively large scale, as big as your head. So as we're going through the inflatable big bum there, we see how these cells are developing. And we get, so we can see how these cells have multiplied and developed, and they're really starting to become big and a big of an issue here. So I've just come out of the big bum and seen some very frightening cancer cells and developments in there, and now we've come out and we have you dressed up as one of the poo emojis, which is amazing. But so we've got a display here. We've got a model of the colon, and so talk to us a little bit about what you're hoping the visitors get out of that experience, and then when they come to you at the store, what happens next.
We're all nurses in the endoscopy unit at the Quadrum Institute in Norwich, and that's just over the road from the Norfolk and Norwich. I'm one of the bowel cancer screening nurses, so I'm one of the nurses who look after patients who come every 2 years, so they have a poo test, but that doesn't start till age 56 at the moment.
Right.
But anyone can have a poo test from their GP and then come in for a colonoscopy with us.
And we keep hearing that time and time again, don't we, that there are certain risk age groups and stuff like that, but there is never, if you've ever got any concerns or anything like that, get yourself tested no matter what.
Never too young to be tested. It's less likely to be cancer if you're younger. It's more prevalent in 50, 60, 70-year-olds, but people get it in their 30s.
And how many times have we heard people say, I'm glad I caught it early?
Yeah, exactly. This is a very curable cancer. So if we catch it early, it shouldn't affect your lifespan. We can remove it, and in most cases, we can rejoin the bowel.
And what I really love here is that it's interactive and fun. So we've got kids here at the table. They're having a go at the
pictures of poo
and stuff like that. And it's just really, really, it's great. And this is the best way. This is what's great about the Science Festival, is how it brings these very serious issues that we need to be aware of, but makes them fun, makes them and tangible. And get the kids to learn something about it.
It dispels the fear of colonoscopy for the adults as well.
Well, I've just been through a giant bum, so I think that's.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So also in the marquee we have Vattenfall. And I'm joined by Will. So how you doing, Will?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good. We met before when you were at a careers event, didn't we, at the Norwich City Football Club. So you're here quite often these things. So first question I guess I'll ask you then is, why is outreach and talking to the public so important for companies like Vattenfall?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good question. And why we're here today, engaging with lots of younger people. We've been here the whole week and here for the rest of the week of the Science Festival. So we've got 2 big wind farms in development off the Norfolk coast, and making sure young people know that there's a huge number of different career routes and ways and different subjects that they can sort of get into the industry as well.
Yeah, and so you've got, just over to our right, we've got the demonstration of how wind turbines work.
Yeah.
So they can change the blade angles, but change the number of blades. They can see what generates the most amount of electricity. Behind you, you've got beautiful, beautiful picture of the Norfolk coast. Yeah. One of my favourite places in the world. And we know that there's tons and tons of wind turbines already out in the North Sea. This is a future industry. We in fact, in one of the podcast episodes done very, very recently, with a bunch of high school students for a UK school sustainability network. One of the students said, fossil fuels are out. They're a fading industry because they're finite. Yeah. So this is the future. So if we've got some teenagers here, we've got some really... So what would you say to these young people coming up to you and say, okay, how could this be a future for me?
Yeah, no, it's really sort of showcasing all the stuff we've got here. So even really interesting things like looking at some cable cross-sections. Yeah, you've got some cable cross-sections here, And I think not a lot of people really sort of know the full scale of what's going on out there. So when we've got our projects finished by the end of the decade, they'll be producing the equivalent of 4.5 million homes worth of electricity.
That's incredible. Yeah. And you look at these cables. I mean, they're heavy duty. Yeah. I mean, so they've got 3 cores. And they've got a surrounding core as well. I mean, it's not just electricity that goes through these. I take it.
Yeah, there's data going through there as well. So all of the turbines, when they're out at sea, they're collecting sort of wind speed information. People on land are communicating back to them.
Yeah.
Huge amount going on just in the cables.
There's quite a big one, maybe with a 15 centimetre diameter or something like that, but it says Aberdeen Offshore Wind Farm, 400 millimetres squared, 66 kilovolt inter-array power cable.
So
Whoa, I've been out of juice going through that.
Yeah, there's been lots of big numbers being discussed today. So comparing it back to sort of our house is using 240 volts in the walls, and then these are carrying 66,000 volts.
That's amazing.
The turbines, one rotation of a turbine can power a home for 2 days, the equivalent amount of electricity.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course, folks, we here in the UK are sport for wind, and the last time I remember this fact, I don't know if it's changed at all, but the last time I heard it, Britain has 40% of Europe's wind resource.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the stat, but it is. Yeah,
but we have a lot of wind.
Yeah,
we have a lot
we
of
really
wind.
do, yeah. So last year, just over a quarter of all of our electricity came from wind,
Yeah.
both onshore and offshore. But yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. Well, thanks for joining me, Will.
No, thank you very much.
Right, so I with some UEA students here. So hi, Jake. So Jake, tell us a bit about what you're doing at UEA and what you're doing here today at the Science Festival.
So at UEA, I'm studying pharmacology and drug discovery, which is essentially making new medicines and targeting proteins to make new therapeutics.
That's amazing. So on the table there in front of us, where we've got the children interacting, we've got your classic molecule models, but you've got here some like lollipop sticks, and so tell us. So what are you trying to teach the kids here?
So pretty much every table we've got is kind of a different stage in the drug discovery process. Right now what you're looking at is the actual putting together and synthesizing the molecule to bind best it can into the protein structure.
Nice.
So
every lollipop stick, is that a protein strand, or what does that represent?
These are the protein strands.
Oh, okay, yep.
But the coloured lollipop sticks represent the best functional group that would bind best to the amino acid in that protein strand.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty much just trying to conceptualize specificity of drugs and trying to make them bind the best that we can.
And of course, in modern days, with coming out of COVID, the age of COVID, and there's never been more of a focus on stuff like this. And I tell you what, just looking down your stall, Jake, and wow, you're absolutely packed here, full of young people and their families. It's pretty incredible stuff. So what got you into pharmacology? I mean, what was your spark?
My spark, I mean, I really just want to cure disease. I think there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been treated right now, and I'm really interested in immunology and harnessing the immune system to attack disease, especially cancer.
Yeah.
So I want to treat diseases. I want to be involved in the process of making medicine. I think
Amazing.
That's really interesting.
Well, keep up the great work, Jake, and hope the rest of the day goes well.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
So is even the box 3D printed as well?
Yeah, anything red, these guys designed and 3D printed, and then inside is a microprocessor and all the stuff they had to do to make it work.
Inside the atrium, you walk into this pod, this covered pod, and there is sound booths, listening booths with headphones, and on the wall next to these are like lovely, beautiful poems. And this is to do with a collaboration between artists and scientists about the secret life of ponds. I'm joined by Helen. Helen, so introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the project.
Thank you. So my name's Helen Greaves, and I'm a researcher at University College London, but I'm also the strategic lead of the Norfolk Ponds project. And so we've come here today. We've got some information we're trying to share with you through the secret life of ponds.
Yes, absolutely. This fantastic collaboration between art and science.
Yeah, so through this, so when we do the Norfolk Ponds projects, we are all about restoring ponds in farmland. And when we do this, we take away the trees again that have become overgrown on the pond, and we dig out some of the old leaf litter that's in there. So usually we have a team of volunteers that would help us to do this. But for this project, we got funding from Natural England and Arts Council England. So we got instead 3 poets and 3 sound artists, and they came along completely out their comfort zone, took part in the restoration. We taught them a bit about the science behind it, and they've gone away and created 3 pieces. So we've got them here today, we've got them all week, and also it's on the Norfolk Ponds website.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll make sure that goes in the show notes because I've just mentioned it many times before in this podcast about the collaboration between arts and science. It's like exceptionally important to make it accessible. And we've got two youngsters in here, like about my age of kids, so about like maybe 8, 9, 10. They're enjoying it. They're really getting immersed in it.
Absolutely.
So keep up the great work, Helen, and I'll make sure that people have a look at it via the show notes.
Thank you.
One thing that's really good about the Norwich Science Festival is that they have boards and posters up talking about, am I a scientist? What is a scientist? What does a scientist look like? And so they're profiles, like A4 profiles of different people talking about being a scientist. So we've got, just to give you some examples here, so we've got Melissa Salmon from Kent in the United Kingdom, proud to be a mum, friendly, clever, nerdy. And I love cats, and I've rehomed 5 cats since moving to Norwich in 2003. So, you know, how is Melissa a scientist? Then you've got Miles OK, proud to be black, African, introverted. Fun fact, I've never broken a bone in my body before. That's something I can't attest to. So Amelia Lovelace, Cockeysville, Maryland, United States, proud to be LGBTQA, a feminist and introvert. I have, fun fact, I have an identical twin. So all these folks have some kind of scientific connection, but these posters just give you the idea that, you know, there are humans behind these folks. There's pictures of people in their running gear, in their wedding, one's in the dance troupe, someone's, oh wow, Mark Webber. He's in a very old stadium looking like a coliseum of some kind, which is pretty amazing. The other thing I really love as well, I had the absolute privilege of being part of some artwork, a documentary artwork by Rebecca Osborne. And Rebecca Osborne, it's a shame she's not here. I'd love to have had a chat with her, but I'm going to try and get her on the podcast anyway. But what she does, she documents activities and engagements and events through art and sketches. And so I'm currently looking at this one here. So Illustrating Science by Rebecca Osborne, The Science of Aging or Not. So this was a talk by Dr. Jay Foden from Norwich University Hospital, Mark Green from the EBI, and Trish Dent from the Wellbeing Wisdom with Trish. And so what Rebecca's done from left to right is she's done this beautiful documentation through sketch and text and just facts. It's great. I'm going to have to, I can't describe it, it's so good. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put a link in the show notes to some of Rebecca's work, but it's so good. It's so colourful and it's so vibrant, and yeah, it's just another example of how you can mesh and meld artistry and creativity with the sciences. And I really do hope that you get some young people, you know, maybe they come into the forum, they think, yeah, science, not kind of my thing, but they come away inspired because they see some kind of connection in some way, shape or form with things that they are interested in. So right next to the stall that I'm helping out today about volcanoes, I have here from the Sainsbury Laboratory, and I've got some beautiful tomato plants right in front of me. So how are you?
I'm good.
So tell us who you are and what you're doing here.
My name is Adeline, and I'm a scientist at the Sainsbury Laboratory, and in front of you are not tomatoes.
Ooh, good. So you're learning things, so tell me a bit more.
So those are wild variety of nightshades.
Oh.
Now what is cool about those is something people don't know, they are cousins of tomato.
That was why I was fooled.
Exactly.
Right, well, I'm not going to be fooled twice. Could be shame on me.
They are cousins of tomatoes, of potatoes, peppers, chili, all the same family.
Oh.
And those ones come from all over the world. Those are Australian. Those are Americans, and we use them in our lab to look for resistance against disease.
That's awesome. Yeah, and there's a very big theme of Norwich Science Festival about safeguarding lives. In fact, I think you could set up almost anything here, and it's all about safeguarding lives and promoting people's lives for the better. So we've got some young people in front of us looking at pictures of plants, of flowers. So what are you hoping for your visitors to learn about when they come and visit your stall?
Well, the number one thing we want people to know is that plants actually can get sick, which is not something everybody think about. Indeed, as you can see on this one, they
on
can
this
get
one, a
sick,
little bit of light there. Yep.
and they have an immune system,
Ooh.
like we do. They actually can fight pathogens, and that's why most of the plants you'll see outside are bright green and very happy. But sometimes it doesn't work out.
Ooh.
And that's when we have to do something in the lab, because in this case, tomato and potatoes are usually attacked by fungal pathogens or other disease. And one of the ones we work on in the lab is called Phytophthora infestans. It's the potato late blight.
It sounds scary.
It is something in the UK that causes a lot of damage on potatoes. Most gardeners will know it. It's a very famous disease. And somehow those wild species are all resistant.
Ooh.
And because they're cousins, we're trying to study their genome to understand why those are resistant when potatoes just dies and give up.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and hope the rest of the day goes well.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Hi folks, a chance for you to recharge your brew, but also a polite prod to remind you that it's so easy to support this podcast. Simply liking, sharing, rating and reviewing means that it will get on more people's radar. Also, there are a few links down in the description which may be of mutual benefit. Please do check them out. So I am talking to David. Hi David, from the University of Oxford. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm David Pyle. I'm a volcanologist and I'm a Professor of Earth Sciences at the University of Oxford.
So David, we have something here called the Imaginarium. Now, of course, bear in mind that this is an audio only.
Yes.
You've got to do your very, very best to describe what we've got in front of here. So this is the project that I'm supporting with Professor Jenni Barclay, and podcast listeners will remember Jenni from a few episodes ago. So tell us about the Imaginarium, and they've got to use their imaginations to picture it in their head.
Yeah, so we wanted to come up with a role-playing exercise or a scenario exercise to get people to think about what it's like to live in a place and then suddenly discover that there are things happening underground. And we've done this before in a kind of with a board game style activity, but what we wanted to design was an activity where the players, the people involved in the scenario, would actually be part of the landscape. So Jenni's concept for an Imaginarium was basically a light-up floor. It looks a bit like a disco floor, but in fact it's programmed.
Yep.
So there's nothing random about it. And we use the floor. This representation is 3 meters by 3 meters, so it's quite large. And it's broken up into lots of little squares, 81 squares in this. And essentially people choose where they're going to live on the island, near the sea, in a valley, in the high ground.
So what we've got the island is represented by effectively green squares, or half a square.
That's right, yes.
And then in this 3x3 area, it kind of like makes the shape roughly of an island, and then you've just got some blue bits around the edge of that represent the sea or the ocean. So then the youngsters can stand somewhere on that island to represent where they're living.
Yes.
Okay.
And people can talk about why they've chosen to live near the sea or in the hills, and then we reveal that it's actually a volcanic island. And so the starting point of the scenario is that a volcanic, one of the squares glows red, and that's a volcanic crater. And then as we go through the scenarios, we imagine the things that people living on the island might sense or detect. So the sorts of things you associate with moving of magma underground, causing earthquakes that cause shaking at the surface, where magma rises to a shallow point and gas starts to escape out of the volcanic crater. And then, of course, in a volcanic eruption, you then have magma from underground erupting and coming out as volcanic ash or lava or in pyroclastic flows.
Can you see something that's happened to some squares now? What colour have they got?
Orange.
Yellow.
I'm standing on a green bit.
Yeah. If you're standing on a square and it goes yellow, that means you've been hit by gas. And if you get hit by gas during the game, David is very quick to help you, but he's very quick to take your disaster dollars too. So you will have to give him a disaster dollar of 1 if you end up on a square that is affected by gas.
David, help me, it smells like rotten eggs.
Now what's happened? Really bad luck. Kit has been standing on a pink square now. This is ash. Same deal. If you end up on a square that gets affected by ash during the game, David will help you, but David will take your money.
That's pretty impressive, yeah. So when we've been playing it so far, we've been doing it on the hour every hour. It's been quite exciting. And I love the fact that we have this extra element involved in it where we have disaster dollars.
Yeah,
so why are we using currency in this? So what was the idea of that?
So we're just starting to get people to think about what it would be like if the place where you'd grown up and lived, your house, your home, your community, was affected by a disaster. It costs money to move, but it costs money to repair.
Yes.
And how do people weigh up the difficult decisions about, well, we've just been affected by some volcanic gas, but do we think we're going to be all right and just repair and stay where we are, or do we want to actually leave everything behind and evacuate? And so that's the disaster dollars. It's a representation of the costs of repairing damage and the costs of moving.
And it just brings it to life, because one of the things I've always, a lot of us geography educators have said is we have no problem in exciting young people, in getting them inspired, getting them motivated and things like that. But what we do appreciate is a lot of disconnect. There's a lot of, that's something that happens in far-flung places. And of course now we've got, modern environmental issues, climate change being one of them, of course, which is bringing this lot home. And what I really love about this is that it gets them active. They're actually physically on this dance floor, if you like. They're interacting with it, and they're invested. So what we've seen earlier with the youngsters, and young as 4 or 5 years of age, up, and there's been some teenagers on there as well.
Yeah.
They're very invested in it, and actually when they say, I feel nervous, I feel worried, I feel scared, I feel excited, they seem to be genuine emotions, and then that just enables this whole connectivity, because we've just recently had the very tragic, of course, incident in Turkey and North Syria, and there's all the razzmatazz, the tectonic fascination of science, but sometimes we forget that there's a story behind all of these.
Yes.
Ready? Here we go. Oh, look at this. Wow. Oh dear.
Trying to do in talking to the children who are taking part in this is to get them to think about why they've chosen to live where they've lived in the beginning. And it's been interesting that some of them have picked up on the reasons they chose to live near the beach, because they were running a tourist business, and their business did quite well through the eruption, and they weren't affected by it. And then contrast that with people who were living somewhere else for historical reasons.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was one game actually where one youngster, she said, "I'm just happy I survived." So they start off with 10 disaster dollars, and she ended up with 2, but she managed to move away and survive, and she was just happy she was quote unquote still alive. Whereas there was all those youngsters on the coast with almost all their disaster dollars left.
Yes.
They're like, we're loving this.
That's right.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
And it is a representation of what happens in real life, and of course a lot of these areas are very reliant on either their primary industries in terms of farming, agriculture, or the tourism industry.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
we're back to thinking about the wonderful volcanic island where we live. Who managed to do the game and lose no disaster dollars? Is that anyone? You guys! You did quite a lot, yes. So you still got disaster dollars.
Delighted to be part of this project, and I'm really looking forward to helping to develop the educational resources from this. But yeah, what is our plans with the Imaginarium going forward? Because I know we have some we're going to develop it further. We're hoping to get it into schools and getting it to travel around Oxford and Norwich. But what's your hope for its use in the future?
So the one location we're definitely taking it to London in early July, from July the 4th to the 9th. There's a public exhibition in the Royal Society in London, which is Pall Mall area.
Excellent, you heard it here, folks.
So that'll be open the whole weekend, the 8th and 9th of July. And it's open to the public and mainly to school groups for the week leading up to that. So we'll modify it a little bit for that space, but it's definitely exciting to think about taking it into places to reach people who don't normally have a chance to visit a science festival, for example.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, folks, if you're interested in the Imaginarium, I mean, you heard Professor Jenni Barclay speak a couple of episodes ago, but if you want any further information, then I'll put it in the show notes and you can get in touch with us at the University of East Anglia or the University of Oxford.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
Pleasure, thank you.
It'd be pretty silly of me to do a recording of the Science Festival, not actually speak to a parent bringing their children here. So, how are you enjoying this today with you and your little ones? How old are your little ones?
10 and 6.
10 and 6.
We've got a friend with us who's also 10.
Okay, so pretty decent age. Yeah, so my eldest is 8 and my youngest is 6. So a bit of an overlap there. How have you felt that they've found it? What's been their favourite part, do you think, so far? I mean, I've just done a bit of story time with the volcano.
What's been their favourite parts? Story time with the volcanoes. Yeah, really nice. It's nice to have someone talk to them, like, who knows how to talk to children.
Oh, well, yeah, as I said before, other people's children maybe. Yeah. But no, it's, I mean, we hold this in Norwich once every year, and is this, do you live in Norwich? Do you come here regularly?
We came to the farming day as well, which was
okay.
Lovely. That was great. They really enjoyed birthing the lamb, milking the cow.
Yeah. What would you say so we have, mostly with this podcast, we have educators listening, but we do have folks listen because they're interested in geography and stuff like that. What would you say to parents or people with young children who, what would you do to convince them to come to things like this, like the Science Festival? We have explosions going on in the background and everything.
It's great. It's free. There's loads of experts. There's lots of lovely interactive activities. Yeah, it's very inspiring for grown-ups and kids, and there's a cafe as well.
Yeah, well, that's important. Actually, yeah, I was going to say that we know what probably the kids were, but what's been the one thing that you've enjoyed yourself? If you just be a little bit.
For me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed learning about seaweed.
Cool.
The other day.
Yep.
That was excellent.
So what was apart from the fact that it actually can make very nutritious meals, what else did you learn about seaweed?
Just talking about the plastic wrapping. And
right.
The kind of, it gives you a little bit of sense of hope. I knew about it, but it was nice hearing more details.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for giving me your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sometimes the pressure might build up gradually.
So I am here with mini geographer Theo, who you folks may remember talked to Lucy Eckersley in season 1. Hey Theo, you alright?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you enjoying the Norwich Science Festival?
Yeah.
So what's been your favourite bit so far? What's the bit that you've done that you really enjoyed?
Well, I like the Floor Is Magma because it is really fun, and I stayed on the same square for most of the game and didn't get hit.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? So that light up floor and then we had earthquakes and mud flows and gas pockets and you had to. What did you have to do if you felt you had to move?
You had to count the squares away from the place that you were trying to go, and then each square cost a coin, so you had to give that to the banker to move.
Yeah, and the other thing we saw as well was plants that grow up. They grow vertically. That was quite cool, wasn't it? Yeah, and we had to find what plant that was growing vertically. What did we have to find?
We had to find the strawberry plant.
Yeah, it took us a while, but we found it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's lovely to hear from you again, Theo, and yeah, thanks for chatting to us.
You're welcome. Bye.
It's really difficult. It's a really big challenge.
Well, that was just a really little snippet. I mean, I'm only here for a day out of the whole entire week. And there are so many people I didn't speak to but could have done. I mean, there's a robotics stall where you can control a little robot. There's something about medicine and about parts of the body and how it works. And it's just amazing. And you heard yourself about what people are doing and what they're getting out of this, and it's a shame I don't have more time to get more people, but I'll put everything in the show notes so you can have a look back and about what people have achieved here. And if you're in the Norwich area, make sure you get yourself to a Norwich Science Festival in the future, or any kind of sort of thing in your area. Do look them up. So that will be me from now. I hope you enjoyed this little special episode on location at the Forum in Norwich, and I will see you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you had fun. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe so more stories and experiences can drop into your favourite podcast app. If you fancy being a guest or have any feedback, follow us on Twitter at coffeegeogpod and send us a DM. Or you could email coffeeandgeog@geogramblings.com. Until next time, keep geogging.